Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and today I would like to share with you guys my final thoughts on the Divo Knives Pony Stout. This has been a wonderful little budget knife to use. I have been using the crap out of it at work, mainly due to its small stature. It doesn't scare anybody in my place of work, and that blade shape just bites into everything I needed to, and it's been great. It really has been. I picked this knife up, pardon me, from White Mountain Knives, and currently right now there are only 2 variations available. There might possibly be more a little bit later on. This was a dealer exclusive, so you would have to get in contact with either or Colin Mason-Pierre or Kevin Johnson, the people who run Divo Knives, and ask them, if they are planning to make more of this specific colorway. The ones that sold out the fastest were the ones with the blue micarta, as you can see here, and I can understand why, because the other option was just very simple black G10. Now, there's nothing wrong with black G10, but I will say that between the two, and me liking blue, I went with this one. I also, got the one with a very beautiful polished stonewash blade, and it has definitely kept this finished rather well, going through a lot of coarse cardboard and plastic and various things like that. This knife didn't see a whole lot of hard use because it's not a hard use kind of knife. It's pretty small, and while the camera is quite zoomed up right now, I will show you in a sec with some size comparison knives how little this thing really is. So let's see. The 2 variations available, as I mentioned before, were just the black G10 ones. One has a black stonewash, so it's basically all blacked out. That one looks pretty cool. And the other one is black G10 and regular stonewash, just like this, the polished stonewash. Very beautiful finish. I like how they do it. The OEM company is QSP, I believe, or I apologize. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it is QSP. For a second, I was thinking, wait, was it Kubi? No, Kubi was doing something else for Divo Knives. Yes, this is made by QSP. Okay, cool. I really gotta stop second guessing myself so much. But this guy was 75 bucks. I believe worth every penny. And you know what? Lefty EDC, Kevin Johnson, he has a little discount code that you can use, Lefty10. I use it all the time, even if it wasn't a link specifically from him, because that's just the one that I remember. I personally don't have my own little discount code. Love Them Knives, Wayne Sharp World, maybe even Stasa23, Knife Therapy, like a lot of other guys have their own little discount codes with various online retailers, which is super cool, and it's worth subscribing because you hear about these things but not super consistently per each and every one of their videos, right? So that's a little fun thing. It at least takes care of tax and shipping if there is any, but so that was that. And let's get some size comparisons out real quick. So my size comparisons have changed a little bit because I pulled 2 out of my collection for sale purposes. They have not sold yet. They're on NAF sale currently. The ones that are missing are my beautiful full zirconium Osborne 940 from Benchmade, and then my titanium Civivi Elementum. So those 2 were moved out just so that I could be able to get new stuff. And honestly, I haven't really used them a whole lot. But I did move 1 other knife into my size comparisons that will probably be sticking around a little bit unless I find something a little better further down the road. I don't know. I'll let you guys know. But also, there's a recent knife that I did purchase that is most likely gonna make its way into a common rotation within my carry throughout the week, and also probably move its way into a size comparison spot, which is honestly one of like the highest compliments I can give to a knife. If I really love a knife that much, it moves into a size comparison spot, or it gets heavily modified, either or. That's just the way it is on my channel, and that's pretty much it. But of course, I don't want to have like some crazy, super fancy, hard to get one-off as a size comparison knife, because the masses aren't gonna either be able to afford that or can't get that, you know. So it needs to be something that is easily obtainable, or a variation of that needs to be easily obtainable. So anyway, besides that little ramble, we'll start with the Spider, because of course these are not going anywhere. This is the PM2. I have here the Native 5. Even the Native 5 is just a tad bit longer, not by much. You have, honestly, about the same amount of cutting edge there, just different blade shape, of course. So there are those two. And then we will do a Benchmade bug out. The action is still wearing itself back in after all the heavy modifications. And then the new one for now is going to be the F5.5. So very similar in overall length. The F5.5, I believe, is just a touch longer, definitely beefier, wider, and cutting performance is going to be a little bit different because you have a tall flat grind here, and you have about 2/3 of the height of the edge here. There's a hollow grind, yes, but there's also a flat up at the top. You feel it a little bit, but again, not a hard use knife, not meant for things like that. But it excels in a lot of day-to-day cutting tasks, which is absolutely what this thing was meant to be for. So it's honestly a winner in those regards for sure. Let's get the weight on this. 3 ounces. Pretty much doesn't weigh anything, which is quite impressive. Now this guy doesn't have any internal milling. Those are steel liners. They could have been milled, but there really wasn't any reason to make this any lighter than it actually is. It doesn't feel like a little brick. It feels just right for the size, honestly. It's not so light to the point where you're gonna flick it across the room reverse, or them flicking it with that hole. And that hole is something that I'm going to be talking about a little bit, because maybe in the future there could be some very slightly little improvements on that. So I'm going to read here a couple little key features, just specs off of White Mountain Knives itself. Blade material is 14C28N. Wonderful, top tier budget blade material. Good to go stuff. Hollow grind, plain edge, no serrations or anything crazy like that. T8 for the pivot screw, which is accessed through the left side of the knife. It is left and right compatible, which it's got to be. You know, coming from Divo knives, it needs to be. So that's wonderful. It's very easy to just remove that screw right there. So that is a T8, but the body screws here, yeah, everything's T8. So for a second, the body screws almost look like a smidge smaller. Everything here is T8, which gets this closer to essentially being a perfect knife, which is very hard to do nowadays, because like a lot of manufacturers are just like, oh, T6 everything. People love T6. No one fucking likes T6s. Stop putting T6s on everything. You can see down in there on the steel backspacer, it's just like laser edge 14C28N. Interesting spot to put the blade material. I think probably could have just been right there on the how most knives are, or maybe like right in here, or maybe not at all. And maybe like in there, it could have been like, it could have said like Dead Nuts or Divo or Pony, Baby Stout. Like it could have said something or nothing at all. I just think that was maybe a little missed opportunity to put a pretty cool little Easter egg on a budget knife that wouldn't really have like costed anything. But that's just, it's nothing really crazy. So here they have the overall length at 6.64. The blade length is 2.84. So this is going to be a wonderful little knife to carry in areas where the blade length restriction is, it needs to be within 3 inches. Unfortunately, there are a lot of areas that are like that. Sucks, but you know, just be conscious of that kind of stuff. All right, so now that majority of the technical stuff is out of the way, I can just spiel about how great this little thing is and maybe a couple little nitpicky things. So that was pretty much all the stuff, honestly, but I want to go through a couple little things that I definitely appreciate about this knife for sure. First, I want to go over aesthetics. Yeah, it's basically a shrunken down stout, and I had the stout. I pre-ordered it, got the upgrade kit. Wonderful knife, just stupid crazy action. That unit actually got sold to another wonderful new YouTuber, Work Knife Balance. Go check him out. He has that knife. I'm assuming he's loving it. I see him constantly making content, little tidbits here and there with it, and it makes me happy to see that it went to somebody else who was going to appreciate it as much or maybe even more than I did. So that's cool. It's fun. I like that. So this is exactly what the stout was. It's just shrunken down in the sense of overall stature and of course materials, but fit and finish was something that was not compromised. I definitely enjoy that. Now on my particular unit, I did run into a couple little things, maybe just one thing actually, but I noticed that when I did my first disassembly and cleanup of this knife, I noticed that the pivot was screwed down so much so that the bearings actually left the tiniest, faintest little indent into these steel liners. Now the steel liners, I'm assuming they're probably pretty soft steel if little bearings could make little indents into them. And every once in a while that starts to kind of, you know, make the action a little not so great. And great action is something that I expect all across the board from Divo knives, because they have yet, you know, like disappointed. Like every single thing that I've checked from Divo knives up to this point has been absolutely wonderful. I loved every single one of them. There's only one that is actually staying in the collection, and that was the Buzz. That was 110% home run, and I hope they make more of that because it needs to be appreciated by many more people than there are currently. And you know what? There are still some people out there that don't even know about Divo knives, or people out there that don't know about the Buzz itself, and you know how amazing it actually really is. You know, this little guy too, being, I believe, one of their first budget knives. They had the Growler, which I did own that one for a short period of time. That one was a stupid slicer. Like this thing would, kid you not, tear a hole through space and time once I finally put my edge on it and laid it back a little bit. Oh my gosh, that thing was just, I mean, it's a simple recipe. Thin behind the edge, super wide ass blade, and didn't really matter, you know, the shape, whether it was like a drop point, clip point, spear point. It's just those simple little factors: thin behind the edge, thin blade stock, and you know, the height of the blade being, you know, quite tall. It just blazed through a lot of material: paper, cardboard, fruits, veggies, whatever. Really anything. That one was an incredible slicer. That one, I believe, was actually their first budget knife, but it did have a couple little issues due to the OEM of choice at the time. I know now that they've released, or are planning to already, do another run, and the design has been changed just the slightest bit, all for the better, of course. Different pocket clip, smaller deployment hole, better detent, better action, better everything. Of course, this is what you need to expect from Divo knives. Can't expect anything less. You know, they've just been knocking out of the park, and they're enthusiasts. It's a brand that's, you know, that's made and run by enthusiasts, so you're going to have that quick response when it comes to design changes. And I mean, these guys are tough. They don't get butthurt over you know, some random guy being like, oh, well, my action's shit. Oh, the D10's too light for me. Oh, I don't like this. So I don't like that you're charging $300 something and you're putting a stupid ass wire clip on it. They don't care, right? Because those things don't really matter. What do matter are the fact that they listen to the important things. They have some of the best communication overall, and especially like on, you know, my own end, you know, me being a consumer, I don't get anything for free. I buy all this stuff and I wait in line. I wait for the pre-orders. I put money down to get their stuff, and I want more and more and more of it because it's just that good. At this point in time, every single Divo knife review of mine is starting to sound the same because there's so much potential here. There really is. And regardless of what OEM they go with, at the second that an OEM just isn't meeting it, like, done. That's it. You know, they're like we're just cutting ties with you. We're gonna move to the next best thing because they want the best. Regardless if it's a super crazy high-end build that they're trying to make, you know, a limited run or super special editions or anything, you know, crazy like that they have planned for the future. Maybe, I don't know. That'd be cool. But even when it comes down to a simple little sub $100 knife, and on this channel, a budget knife is anything within $100. So it's not a flex or anything, but in this day and age, you can get spectacular fit and finish. Not really anything made in the US, but there are many things that you can get made overseas that are just wonderful, absolutely wonderful within that $100 price range, and this is no exception. So I am, you know, very confident in saying that maybe it was just my unit that had the kind of sluggish action a little bit, but after cleaning everything out, giving everything, you know, a good once over and just tuning it in the slightest, zero side to side, up or down lockup is solid. There is zero play, like I have to really try to rip this freaking thing apart and muscle it to actually feel anything. That is something that I have to do with knives that cost 3-4 times as much as this. And this is being made in China or wherever QSP is based out of. So that is pretty impressive. You do have just the slightest contouring on the micarta scales, and it's an inset steel liner. So to have the knife overall this thin with steel liners, to have that nice solid rigidity, like I can't really press that or, you know, deform it at all. This is solid, good to go design. One other little thing, which is really not that big of a deal, super easy fix, but it would be nice if even at this price point it was included. I think it would have been cool if maybe there was an extra pocket clip included, but that's something that, you know, might be able to be handled by Divo Knives themselves or the dealer that this was an exclusive to, White Mountain Knives. I did bend out my pocket clip a little bit. It got snagged on something, and you know what? I have many knives that have wire pocket clips, and this is maybe the second one that's ever happened to. It's a very easy fix, I kid you not. Like, undo the screw, flip it around, tighten it back down, flex it down a little bit, or you can just take it off completely and get like some pliers and just kind of, you know, or if you have just buff ass freaking like gorilla fingers, you can just bend it. It's not that big of a deal, but it did bend out a little bit, so I have kind of a tappy pocket clip. Not a deal breaker at all. This is a highly recommendable knife. I hope they make more of them, a second run, a third run, maybe with you know, maybe with a slightly more aggressive hole. I know that the finish taken, the polish, definitely has a huge part to play in the softening of all of these edges. And reverse flick, I get it every time. It's wonderful. It is definitely wonderful. But thumb flicking, I do want to be able to thumb flick this a little bit more reliably. And that could just be me. I have, you know, longer and slimmer fingers. So maybe if you have, you know, like wider thumbs, it's no problem for you. The hole honestly isn't that big. and my thumb. Like it can cover it completely. It's really not a small hole. It's not a huge hole either. It looks good. It's an attractive design, but because of the finish, it is softened out a little bit. Again, it's something you can get used to. It's not that big of a deal, but these are just some things that I noticed. So that's really about it. I have decided that I am going to modify this knife. I'm going to do a bunch of random stuff to it, and I would like to take you guys on that journey. What I plan to do is I plan to put my typical acid stone wash. For example, it's what you see here on the Benchmade bug out. Maybe this isn't the best example because the 20 CV blade it is heat treated pretty well, so it is a little bit more difficult to get scratches on that, which is good. But of course, me trying to put a different aesthetic on it, it poses a little bit of a challenge. All the hardware on here is steel. I'm planning to torch them. Hopefully I'm able to get a consistent color. I'm going to do something with the liners, probably an acid stone wash. Backspacer, same thing. It's not going to be a crazy, super fancy build. It's going to be sharpened. This has had the factory edge, and I've just been keeping it alive with the NAFSCO like pocket strap. Wonderful, wonderful little tool to have daily. Just a couple little swipes, and you're popping hairs. So again, a factory edge with a little bit of strap. They're gone, and I have very, very thin hair on my arm or my hand here, but as you can see, they're getting gone. So yeah, that's ew, dead skin, gross. Anyway, yeah, 110% recommendable knife. I will be doing a giveaway. I have, just stuff planned for the future. I want to have fun, throughout all of this, and I want to take you guys on the journeys, on the mishaps, on the successes and things like that. Similarly to, how I made some content on my bug out. I anodized it, I made all this content, posted a video, and the next video or two, it looks completely different because I went back and redid it because I didn't feel that it was just right. I'm a little weird like that. I know it is what it is. Everybody has their own thing, but I was able to make something that I am now happy with. And yeah, so I would like to take you guys on that journey. I think it sounds pretty fun. With that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll be linking down this in the description. And with that being said, take care.